Personally, I don't think Christians put enough emphasis on Easter and the importance that it is to our faith. We focus for weeks leading up to Christmas, but what are you doing for Easter? Is it just an Easter egg hunt, Palm Sunday, but then Resurrection Sunday, and that's it? There is so much more to Easter, and I am excited to share some resources with you that you might want to consider for this year. I have such treasured memories with this book when my boys were little. It is one of the first things that really got me realizing that I wanted to do more for Easter with my kids. This is The Secret of the Hidden Scrolls, the final scroll. So it's actually book 9. You can read them out of order, and that would be fine. This book goes through the week leading up to Easter from the perspective of a boy and a girl who go back in time, and they have to solve the mystery on this scroll before they can return home again. There's a lot of Christian kid shows that do that, Superbook and other things, Imagination Station. I really enjoy them all. Sometimes I get a little sick of the storyline, but I don't think kids get sick of it. And this one I thought did a really good job of explaining the events leading up at a very young kid's age level. This is meant to be an independent reader for them, but the first time I read it to my son. Since then, they've listened on Hoopla or read it as independent readers. This is a great series to go through all together, but specifically because we're talking about Easter, I recommend this one. I'm gonna save the resource that we have used the longest, year after year, until the very end, so stick around. But this one is a brand new resource that we went through recently. I'm actually missing one book, but I think it would be really good leading up to Easter and would encourage you to go through. It's by Danica Cooley, and it's this Who, What, Why series about like what was the tabernacle, who was Moses, and why did the Exodus happen. I think my husband actually has that one in his office right now, so I don't have it here. But this is like Moses' testimony and how God prepared him and used him. This is pointing to Jesus, all of the things in the tabernacle and the whole story, how it points forward to Jesus. Why did the Exodus happen? Talks about who God is. Sometimes we really struggle to read the Old Testament and know how it's all pointing to Jesus, but these books do an excellent job helping with that. We have really enjoyed them in our house. Danica has a whole nother series coming out later this summer I'm very excited about, but for now, this is what I can recommend, and all of these things. I mean, we're gonna talk about Passover in here, obviously, and that is a big part of Easter. This might be a weird recommendation for Easter because it's not necessarily focused just on Easter, but the Mansell Chronicles by Lithos Kids talks about the struggle over the man's soul. This is the spiritual battle happening in here. And there is a portion where Prince Emmanuel comes to save the town of Mansell by giving his own life. So that is all in here in this allegory that teaches kids the sacrifice that Jesus made for them and the freedom that he offers when we accept that. It's a beautiful story. My kids had me read it to them all in one day, but it's kind of a thick book, so I would recommend it leading up to Easter if you are trying to prepare their hearts to understand what's happening a little bit more. I love teaching my kids about other cultures around the world, and a couple of years ago I stumbled upon this book, Easter Eggs for Anya. This actually takes place in Ukraine. I share a more in-depth review of this on my other channel, Family Style Adventures, where I do lots of book reviews from books around the world, and make sure to look this one up. I think it's super precious and a great one, along with an activity idea of what you could do with your kids leading up to Easter. For myself and my friends, I highly recommend The Case for Easter. This is a very small book that is written by Lee Strobel, who wrote like The Case for Christ, and it goes through him asking different professors and scientists about like, was Jesus coming back to life like probable, or what are the evidences for that maybe they didn't even understand what they were explaining in the New Testament, but now we're like, that makes sense. This was really interesting. Not that we have to have like a scientific explanation. It's not just that. There's obviously still a lot of faith included in there, but this one always gets me really excited for Easter. I really enjoy it, and you can get it really cheap. So I tend to buy extra copies of this to give away to people in our church and other places because I think it's just such a good book for adults. New Growth Press sent me actually a ton of books that I'm going to be reviewing for you over the next few weeks, but this one by Marty Mikowski, and I'm so excited about it. It's Darkest Night and Brightest Day, all in one book. So what you do is Darkest Night is 7 days leading up to Easter, and so you're going to read through it with your kids. There's also little questions. There's scripture to read ahead of time, and then at the end there are discussion questions too to go through. And then after the 7 days, when you get to Black Friday and then to Easter Day, you flip it over and you go Brightest Day. And then this is going to talk about Jesus coming back and who he appeared to and the road to Emmaus and all of those good things, Pentecost and his ascension. And so what a fun book. I was considering, like, I thought we were going to do this as a family. As I looked through it and considered our schedule during this time frame, I have a lot packed in, and that's going to be coming out later this week in a bonus video about what we are using in our homeschool currently, our curriculum picks. I have a lot packed in, and so I don't know that we're going to have time for this along with our typical Bible reading and things. And I was kind of expressing that to my boys. And my boys said, well, Mom, we want to read it. Can we read it before bed in our room? That is so cool. My boys are so excited, and they have done this in the past where they will read through portions of scripture or devotionals or things. They read to each other, they take turns, and I thought, absolutely, this is a fantastic way to do that. So they are actually going to read this to each other leading up to and then 7 days after Easter. I'm really excited for them to do that, and maybe we'll join in too. We'll see how that all goes. But they were excited to do it. Also, when I was going through here, there was a story in John 12 that was talked about, and I was like, wait a second, I don't remember that happening. What? And I actually had to go open up my Bible and be like, did that really happen? How did I forget about that? I didn't know. And so I love when there are kids books that are pointing out such deep things that even as an adult, like, I'm a pastor's wife, I went to Bible school, they're pointing out things that I forgot or didn't realize in the Bible. That to me really shows that this is a quality book that I want my kids to be going through. Okay. Lastly, we've been using this resource for years, and it's from Gather Round. But Gather Round has come out with 2 more since then, and I want to pop them up on the screen here. This one is actually releasing, I think, the day that this video releases, and I think this looks so cool to go through with my kids. So, I don't know. I want to do everything. I really want this one. We'll see. And then they also have a study just on Pentecost, which we haven't done yet. Again, I think looks really cool. I don't know that these are like in it for us this year, but very exciting. And then there's this one, which is the original Easter lesson. It's 10 days with an optional 11th event. And so this one it's leading up to Easter and then a couple days after too. So like that Darkest Night, Brightest Day, it also goes into Pentecost afterwards, but it goes through the events leading up to Easter. It has all kinds of activities for you to do that are really fun. We've really enjoyed that, doing foot washing with the kids, doing communion as a family, Passover dinner. We have actually implemented Passover in our family's routines, and we always invite over 1 or 2 other families to do this with us. It has become really special tradition, and I would just really highly recommend you considering to add that in. And there's actually a written Passover that Rebecca Spooner wrote from a non-Jewish Christian perspective of like how to go through that. I know some people have issues with that. we actually then tweaked it beyond that for our own family and just like made the flow work for us. And I'm stumbling over all this because I know some people will get offended, but I just think it's really important for you like to make sure, is it biblical? Are your children understanding like the point of all of these different things? Like all of the foods at Passover have a different reason to them, and making sure that like it does fit in biblically for what you understand and are teaching. So go through that carefully, but I really highly recommend you do it. And this is a great way to get started. There's all kinds of things in here for conversation starters. It is technically a mini study, so it's not going to take you very long every day to do one of these. You can do it on top of your regular work, and I can't recommend this enough. In fact, I have a whole nother video on it. It's right here. You can go ahead and click on it next. Let me know what you are thinking and what your family loves to use for Easter as well. Also, I have an Easter basket video coming up in the near future, so make sure you are subscribed. Okay, guys, bye.